The message came on a quiet Tuesday morning. Every television, every phone, every computer screen on Earth displayed the same thing: a signal from deep space. The words were translated into every human language, and they said something that changed history forever. The Galactic Council has watched your species for 100 years. We believe you are ready to join the stars. But first, you must prove yourselves. Send your best athletes to the Galactic Olympics on Vareth Prime. If you finish in the top 5, you will earn membership in our council. If you fail, you must wait another century. The world went silent for exactly 3 seconds. Then chaos erupted. Lisa Grant was a commander in the United States Space Force. She stood in the emergency meeting room at the United Nations, surrounded by diplomats and generals from every nation. Everyone was talking at once. Some were excited. Others were terrified. A few thought it was a trick. Lisa raised her hand and waited. Slowly, the room fell quiet. "This is real," she said. "Our satellites confirmed the signal came from beyond our solar system. We have 6 months to prepare a team. 100 athletes, 20 events, and we have no idea what we're up against." The preparation began that very day. For the first time in human history, every nation worked together without argument. Training centers were built. Scientists studied the limited data about alien species. Athletes from every sport were tested and selected. Danny Ortiz received his invitation while eating breakfast in his small apartment in Houston. He was 32 years old, a former Olympic sprinter who had won 3 gold medals. His body was covered in scars from years of training. His eyes were tired but determined. The letter was simple: "You have been selected to represent humanity. Report to Geneva in 7 days." Danny put down his coffee and stared at the paper for a long time. Then he smiled. Kelly Morrison got her letter while swimming laps in a pool in California. She was 28, tall and strong, with shoulders built for cutting through water. She had broken the world record for the 400-meter freestyle twice. When her coach handed her the envelope, she didn't even dry her hands before tearing it open. "Geneva," she whispered. "They want me to swim against aliens." Her coach laughed nervously. "You scared?" Kelly shook her head. "I've been swimming against the best humans my whole life. Time to see what the universe has to offer." In Geneva, the athletes gathered in a massive complex built just for this purpose. There were runners and swimmers, fighters and gymnasts, weightlifters and endurance specialists. 100 humans who represented the best their species could produce. Danny was named team captain on the 3rd day. He didn't ask for the job, but no one argued when his name was suggested. There was something about him that made people trust him. Maybe it was his calm voice. Maybe it was the way he looked at problems like puzzles to be solved. Kelly became co-captain. She handled the logistics while Danny handled the people. They made a good team. Dr. Nathan Cole was assigned as the head physician. He was a small man with glasses and nervous hands, but his mind was sharp. His job was to study the alien species they would compete against and find any advantage he could. "This is what we know," Nathan said during the first team meeting. He projected images on a large screen. The Vrethani are tall and thin, with scales like a snake. They have incredible reflexes and can see in almost complete darkness. The Korvaths are massive, like living rocks. One of them could lift a truck without trying. The Zelthians can change their body density at will. Sometimes they're solid, sometimes they're almost like gas. Danny studied the images. "What about weaknesses?" Nathan hesitated. "We don't know yet. The council didn't give us much information. I think that's intentional." The training was brutal. Athletes pushed themselves harder than ever before. Some broke down. Those who remained grew stronger. Danny trained every day until his legs felt like fire. He studied videos of past Galactic Olympics, trying to understand how aliens moved, how they thought, how they competed. The more he watched, the more worried he became. "They're faster than us," he told Kelly one night. "Stronger. Some of them have been competing in these games for thousands of years." Kelly nodded. "So what do? We find another way to win. Humans didn't become the dominant species on Earth because we were the strongest. We became dominant because we adapted. We figured things out. We never gave up. The transport ship arrived exactly on schedule. It was enormous, a vessel of silver and blue that descended from the clouds like a dream. The human delegation boarded in silence. Some athletes prayed. Others held hands with teammates. A few cried. Danny stood at the entrance and watched each person walk past. He memorized their faces, their names, their stories. These were his people now. His responsibility, the journey to Verith Prime, took 6 days. The ship had gravity generators, so movement felt normal. There were training rooms and sleeping quarters and a cafeteria that served food from every nation on Earth. The aliens who operated the ship were polite but distant. They answered questions with short responses and avoided unnecessary conversation. Danny spent most of the trip studying. He learned the rules of each event. He analyzed the competition. He talked to every athlete on the team, learning their strengths and fears. Kelly focused on morale. She organized group dinners and movie nights. She settled arguments and comforted those who were homesick. She reminded everyone why they were here. On the 5th day, Danny found her sitting alone in the observation deck, staring at the stars. "You okay?" he asked. Kelly smiled weakly. "Just thinking about home, about everyone counting on us. What if we fail?" Danny sat beside her. "Then we fail with dignity. We show the galaxy what humans are made of. Win or lose, we give everything we have. You really believe that?" "I have to. And so does the team." The ship emerged from hyperspace on the morning of the 6th day. Verith Prime appeared in the viewport, a massive moon with orange clouds and silver oceans. The stadium complex was visible from orbit, a collection of structures that stretched across hundreds of miles. The athletes gathered at the windows. Some gasped. Others stood in stunned silence. "It's beautiful," Kelly whispered. "It's terrifying," Danny replied. "And it's where we prove ourselves." The ship descended through the atmosphere. Landing platforms rose to meet them. Alien vessels of every shape and size filled the sky. Crowds of strange creatures gathered below, watching the human ship with curious eyes. When the doors opened, Danny stepped out first. The air was warm and smelled like copper. The gravity was slightly heavier than Earth. Cameras from 1,000 worlds focused on his face. He took a deep breath and walked forward. Galactic Olympics had begun. The opening ceremony was unlike anything humans had ever seen. The central stadium could hold 5 million spectators. Floating platforms carried dignitaries from 17 different species. Holographic displays painted the sky, the colors that didn't exist on Earth. Each species marched into the arena. In order of their membership in the Galactic Council, the oldest members came first. The Vrethani moved like dancers, their scaled bodies catching the light. The Korvath shook the ground with every step. The Zelthions drifted like clouds of living smoke. Humanity entered last. 100 athletes in simple, blue uniforms walked across the arena floor. They looked small compared to the giants around them. Some aliens laughed. Others pointed and whispered. A few made gestures that probably weren't friendly. Danny marched at the front of the delegation. His eyes stayed forward. His shoulders stayed straight. He refused to show fear. Kelly walked beside him. "They're making fun of us," she murmured. "Let them," Danny replied. "Words don't win medals." The ceremony continued with speeches from council leaders. A Verethani elder spoke about the history of the games. A Korvath general talked about honor and competition. Everything was translated through devices embedded in the humans' ears. Finally, the eternal flame was lit. Each species contributed energy from their homeworld. The Vrethani added plasma from their binary suns. The Korvath contributed heat from their volcanic core. When Danny stepped forward with Earth's contribution, a small fusion torch. Some aliens made sounds of amusement. "How primitive," someone said loudly. Danny added Earth's flame to the pillar without acknowledging the insult. The combined energies swirled together and shot into the sky, signaling the official start of the games. The first event was called the Void Sprint. Competitors raced through a zero-gravity tunnel that stretched for 2 kilometers. There were obstacles everywhere. Spinning barriers, moving platforms, sections where the lighting changed suddenly. It required speed, agility, and perfect spatial awareness. Carla Webb was humanity's representative. She was 24 years old, small and quick, a gymnast who had trained specifically for zero-gravity movement. She had spent the last 3 months in orbital stations. Learning to control her body without the pull of Earth's gravity, she positioned herself at the starting line. 7 alien competitors surrounded her. The Korvath on her left was 3 times her size. The Vrethoni on her right had limbs that bent in impossible directions. The signal fired, Carla launched herself into the tunnel with perfect form. She used every surface to redirect her momentum, bouncing off walls and obstacles like a human pinball. Her movements were precise and efficient. No wasted energy. No unnecessary motions. The crowd grew quiet as they watched her. This tiny human was keeping pace with species designed for space travel. She passed the first kilometer in 3rd place. Just behind a Vrethoni and a creature called a Mordith, an insectoid being with multiple limbs. Then something strange happened. The Vrethoni ahead of her suddenly accelerated. Its body glowed with a faint shimmer, and it shot forward like it had been launched from a cannon. The speed was impossible. Nothing in the data suggested Vrethoni could move that fast. Carla pushed harder, but she couldn't match the sudden burst. She finished 4th, just off the metal platform. When she returned to the human section, her face was red with frustration. Something was wrong, she said. That Vrethoni cheated. I know it. Danny put a hand on her shoulder. We saw. Nathan is looking into it. Dr. Nathan Cole spent the next 3 hours analyzing the footage. He ran it through every program he had, studying the Vrethoni's movement frame by frame. Finally, he called Danny and Kelly to his office. She's right, Nathan said, pointing at the screen. Watch this moment. See that shimmer around the Vrethoni's body? That's not natural. That's a performance enhancement field. Some kind of technology that boosts physical abilities. Kelly leaned closer. Can we prove it? Nathan shook his head. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. Whatever they're using is designed to avoid detection. Our scanners can't pick it up. We only noticed because we were looking specifically for anomalies. Danny felt anger rising in his chest. So they're cheating. What do we do about it? If we complain now, they'll deny it. We have no hard evidence. They'll say we're making excuses for losing. Nathan rubbed his eyes. I think this goes deeper than one athlete. I think multiple species are involved. The next few days confirmed Nathan's theory. In event after event, alien competitors displayed abilities that exceeded their recorded baselines. A Korvath weightlifter suddenly hoisted twice his previous maximum. A Zelthian swimmer moved through water like it was pushing her forward. A Vrethoni jumper cleared distances that should have been physically impossible, and humanity kept placing just outside the medals. The team's mood grew dark. Athletes who had trained their entire lives were being robbed by invisible cheaters. Some wanted to withdraw from the games entirely. Others wanted to storm into the council chambers and demand justice. Danny called an emergency meeting on the 8th night. I know what you're feeling, he said, standing before the gathered team. I feel it too. Anger, frustration, the sense that nothing we do matters because the deck is stacked against us. Carla crossed her arms. So what do we do? Just accept it? No, we fight smarter. Danny began pacing. Think about human history. How many times were we told we couldn't do something? How many times did the odds seem impossible? We survived ice ages. We crossed oceans in wooden boats. We went to the moon with computers weaker than your phone. The room was silent. These aliens think they've already won. They think we're too primitive to notice their tricks. Too weak to pose a real threat. Danny's voice grew stronger. That's their mistake. We're going to keep competing. We're going to document every instance of cheating. And we're going to beat them anyway. Kelly stood up. Danny's right. If we quit now, we prove them right. We prove that humans can't handle the big stage. Is that who we are? A murmur went through the crowd. Heads began to shake. Shoulders began to straighten. Chris Delgado, a 41-year-old former Special Forces operative, raised his hand. I've got the endurance trial in 3 days. Longest, hardest event in the games. Perfect place to send a message. Danny nodded. Then we start there. We show the galaxy what human endurance really looks like. The team returned to training with renewed purpose. They worked harder than before. They studied their opponents more carefully. They looked for weaknesses that could be exploited, and they waited for their moment. Nathan continued gathering evidence. He built files on every suspicious performance. He documented patterns and anomalies. The picture that emerged was disturbing. The cheating wasn't random. It was coordinated. Multiple species working together to ensure certain outcomes. They're afraid of us, Nathan said during a private meeting with Danny. That's the only explanation that makes sense. They're not just cheating to win. They're cheating to make sure we lose. Danny stared out the window at the alien sky. Then we give them something to really be afraid of. The endurance trial was approaching, and humanity was ready to prove itself. The endurance trial was considered the most brutal event in the Galactic Olympics. Competitors had to cross a course that covered 50 kilometers of the harshest terrain on Varith Prime. There were mountains of jagged rock, valleys filled with toxic gas, sections where the temperature dropped far below freezing, and others where it rose hot enough to cook meat. There was no time limit. The event continued until only one competitor remained standing. Whoever lasted longest won. Chris Delgado had volunteered for this event because he understood something that most people didn't. Humans were not the fastest species. They were not the strongest. But when it came to pure, stubborn endurance, humans were special. Millions of years ago, human ancestors had hunted by running their prey to exhaustion. They couldn't catch animals in a sprint, so they chased them for hours, for days, until the animals simply collapsed. This ability was built into human DNA. It was their secret weapon. Chris stood at the starting line alongside representatives from all 17 species. The Vrethani looked confident in their sleek environmental suits. The Korvath cracked their stone-like knuckles. The Zelthians flickered between solid and gas, preparing for whatever came next. A Mordeith positioned itself near Chris. It was an insectoid creature with 6 limbs and compound eyes that reflected the alien sun. It clicked its mandibles in what might have been a greeting. Human, it said through its translator. You are brave to enter this event. Chris nodded. Thank you, or perhaps foolish. The Council species have won this event for 800 consecutive games. Streak's end, Chris said simply. The starting horn echoed across the landscape. Competitors launched forward with explosive speed. The Korvath charged like tanks. The Vrethani moved with liquid grace. Even the Mordeith scattered ahead on its multiple legs. Chris didn't chase them. He maintained a steady pace, conserving energy while others burned through theirs. His military training had taught him that the beginning of a race meant nothing. Only the end mattered. The first hour was chaos. Competitors pushed through the initial obstacles with desperate intensity. Rocks were smashed. Barriers were leaped. Several aliens moved so fast they were almost blurs. Chris kept his breathing steady, one step after another. Mile after mile, by the second hour, the field began to change. A Zelthian had misjudged a toxic gas pocket and collapsed. 2 Vrethani had exhausted themselves sprinting and now sat gasping by the trail. A Korvath had fallen into a crevasse and couldn't climb out. Chris passed them all without comment. He didn't feel satisfaction. Not yet. There was still too far to go. The temperature dropped as the course entered a frozen valley. Ice covered every surface. Wind cut through even the thickest clothing. Several competitors slowed dramatically, their bodies struggling with the cold. Chris wrapped his arms around himself and kept moving. He had trained in Arctic conditions. He knew how to manage hypothermia. His body shivered, but his feet never stopped. Hour 3. Hour 4. The sun moved across the orange sky. Shadows lengthened and shifted. The course grew more treacherous. By the 5th hour, only 12 competitors remained. Chris had quietly moved into 7th place, passing aliens who had started strong and faded fast. Nathan's voice came through the communication device in Chris's ear. You're doing great. The leaders are starting to slow down. The Virethany enhancement fields are struggling with the temperature extremes. Cold-blooded physiology, remember? Chris grunted in acknowledgement. He didn't have breath to spare for words. The 6th hour brought heat. The course descended into a volcanic region where vents spewed steam and the ground was almost too hot to touch. For more competitors dropped out. Their bodies couldn't handle the sudden change. Chris pushed through the pain. His feet blistered inside his boots. His skin burned wherever it was exposed, but he kept walking. One step, then another, then another. The Korvath leading the pack began to falter. Even their stone-like bodies couldn't maintain the pace indefinitely. The massive creature staggered, fell to one knee, and stayed down. Chris stepped around it without breaking stride. He didn't offer help. In this event, stopping meant losing. Hour 7, 8 competitors remained. Hour 8, 6 competitors remained. Hour 9, 4 competitors remained. Chris was now in second place. Ahead of him was a Vrethany female whose enhancement field was flickering visibly. Behind him were the Mordaith and a creature from a species called the Synthax. Beings of living metal. The Vrethany pushed harder, desperate to maintain her lead. But her movements were becoming erratic. Whatever technology was boosting her abilities was failing in the extreme conditions. She screamed in frustration as her legs buckled beneath her. She collapsed face first into the dust and didn't get up. Chris moved past her. He was now in first place. The Synthax fell next. Its metal body had absorbed too much heat in the volcanic section and too much cold in the frozen valley. The rapid temperature changes had weakened its structural integrity. It crumbled into a pile of dented plates. Now only Chris and the Mordaith remained. They walked side by side for another hour. Neither spoke. Neither showed weakness. The course had leveled out into an endless plain of gray rock under a darkening sky. Finally, the Mordaith broke the silence. "Your species is impressive." "Thank you," Chris managed. "When we first saw humans, we thought you would be easy to defeat. Small, soft, fragile." The Mordaith's compound eyes studied Chris. "We were wrong. Humans are tougher than we look. I see that now. You do not give up. Even when your body fails, your spirit continues." Chris smiled despite his exhaustion. "We call it stubbornness." The Mordaith made a clicking sound that might have been laughter. "A valuable trait," it continued in silence. Hour 11 became hour 12. Hour 12 became hour 13. The finish line was still somewhere ahead, invisible in the darkness. Chris's body was screaming at him to stop. Every muscle burned. Every joint ached. His vision blurred at the edges. But he kept moving because that's what humans did. In the 14th hour, the Mordaith's legs gave out. The insectoid creature tried to rise, failed, and collapsed onto the rocky ground. "Continue," it said to Chris. "You have earned this victory." Chris hesitated for just a moment. Then he nodded and walked on. The finish line appeared 30 minutes later. A simple arch of glowing light in the middle of the wasteland. Chris crossed it alone. The stadium erupted. For the first time in the Galactic Olympics, humanity had won gold. The image of Chris Delgado, battered and exhausted but still standing, was broadcast across every world in the council. When Danny and Kelly reached him at the medical station, Chris was barely conscious. His feet were wrapped in bandages. His face was burned by sun and frozen by wind, but he was smiling. "Did we send a message?" he asked weakly. Danny gripped his hand. The whole galaxy heard it. That night, the human compound celebrated. Music played. Drinks were shared. Athletes who had felt hopeless now believed that victory was possible, but Danny knew the fight wasn't over. The aliens would respond to this loss. They would cheat harder, push back stronger. He looked at Chris, sleeping peacefully in the medical bay, and made a silent promise. Whatever came next, humanity would face it together. Chris Delgado's victory changed everything. The human compound buzzed with new energy. Athletes trained harder, slept less, and believed more. For the first time since arriving on Varith Prime, they felt like they belonged. But Danny knew the truth. One gold medal wouldn't be enough. They needed to climb the overall rankings. And they needed evidence strong enough to expose the cheating. Dr. Nathan Cole had been working around the clock. His office was covered in screens showing footage from dozens of events. Notes and diagrams littered every surface. His eyes were red from lack of sleep. "I've documented 47 instances of probable performance enhancement," Nathan reported during a morning briefing. 12 different species? The pattern is clear. This isn't random cheating. It's coordinated. Kelly frowned. Coordinated by who? I don't know yet. But whoever's running this operation has access to advanced technology and significant resources. This kind of enhancement field doesn't come cheap. Danny studied the data. If we go public now, what happens? They deny everything. They claim our evidence is fabricated or misinterpreted. We look like sore losers making excuses. Nathan shook his head. We need something concrete. Transmission logs, equipment, a confession. Then we keep looking, Danny said. But we don't stop competing. Every medal we win is a statement. The days that followed were intense. Humanity climbed slowly in the rankings, moving from 12th place to 9th, then 8th. They won bronze in the gravity throw, silver in the precision flight, another bronze in the tactical relay. Each victory was celebrated. Each defeat was analyzed. The team was finding its rhythm. On the 15th day of the games, something unexpected happened. Danny was walking through the neutral zone, an area between species compounds where athletes could interact freely. Most aliens avoided him. The looks he received ranged from curiosity to contempt, but one figure approached directly. It was a Mordeth, the same one who had competed against Chris in the endurance trial. Human Captain, the Mordeth said, "My name is Krex. I wish to speak with you privately." Danny's guard went up immediately. About what? About things that your species needs to know. Things that could change everything. They found a quiet corner away from the crowds. Krex's compound eyes scanned constantly for observers. Its body language suggested nervousness, though Danny wasn't certain he was reading alien body language correctly. "You know about the cheating," Krex said quietly. "Your team has been watching, documenting, waiting for proof." Danny didn't confirm or deny. "What makes you think that?" "Because that is what any intelligent species would do in your position. And despite what the Council believes, humans are intelligent." Krex made a clicking sound. "Perhaps too intelligent for their comfort." "What do you mean?" Krex leaned closer. "The Galactic Council is afraid of humanity. Your species adapts too quickly. You conquered your world in mere thousands of years. You developed spaceflight within a century of powered flight. At your current rate of advancement, you will surpass most Council species within 200 years. Danny felt a chill run through him. "So the cheating isn't about winning games, correct? It is about keeping humanity out of the Council. If you fail here, your species will be dismissed as primitive. Your requests for membership will be denied for generations. By the time you are reconsidered, the Council will have taken steps to ensure you remain contained." The implications were staggering. This wasn't just athletic competition. It was political warfare. The games had been rigged from the start. "Why are you telling me this?" Danny asked. Doc Rex was silent for a moment. "Because my people remember what it is like to be young, to be dismissed, to be feared for your potential rather than respected for your achievements. The Mordeth were once where you are now. It took us 1,000 years to earn our place in the Council. Your species should not have to wait so long." The Mordath produced a small device from within its body. It looked like a crystal containing swirling lights. "This contains proof," Krex said. "Transmission logs between Council members. Equipment schematics for the enhancement fields. Recorded conversations discussing how to ensure humanity fails. Everything you need." Danny took the device carefully. "Why would you risk this? If the Council finds out you helped us, then I will face consequences. But some things are more important than personal safety. The galaxy needs new voices." New perspectives. Humanity has something valuable to offer, and the Council's fear should not prevent that contribution. Danny gripped the crystal tightly. Thank you. Do not thank me. Win. Show the Council that their schemes cannot stop what humanity is destined to become. Krex began to move away. Use the evidence wisely. The timing must be perfect. Danny returned to the human compound with his mind racing. He gathered the core leadership team: Kelly, Nathan, Chris, and Carla. They reviewed the evidence together. It was exactly what Nathan had predicted. Transmission logs showed council members discussing which species to enhance and by how much. Equipment schematics revealed how the enhancement fields worked. Recorded conversations confirmed that the entire conspiracy was designed to prevent humanity from earning membership. This is it, Nathan whispered. This is everything we need. Kelly's face was hard with anger. We should broadcast this immediately. Let the whole galaxy see what these cheaters have done, Danny said firmly. If we release this now, they'll claim we fabricated it. They'll say we're desperate and dishonest. The evidence will be dismissed, and our reputation will be destroyed. Carla nodded slowly. So what do? We win first. We climb the rankings through pure merit. We show the galaxy that humans can compete at the highest level without any tricks. And then, when we've proven ourselves beyond doubt, we reveal the truth. The team agreed. They had 3 days of competition remaining. 3 days to secure their place in the top 5. 3 days to earn the respect of the galaxy. Danny called a meeting of all 100 athletes. He didn't tell them about the evidence or the conspiracy. That information was too dangerous to spread. Instead, he reminded them why they were here. We came to Vareth Prime as representatives of humanity. Every person on Earth is watching us. Every child who dreams of the stars is counting on us. We've already proven that humans can compete with the best the galaxy has to offer. Now we need to prove that we belong among them. The team roared in response. Training intensified. Athletes pushed beyond their limits. Coaches analyzed opponents with new focus. Medical staff worked around the clock to keep everyone healthy and ready. The final events were approaching. The combat exhibition. The relay of worlds. The Unity Challenge. These would determine humanity's final ranking. Rosa Vega was scheduled for the combat exhibition. She was a martial artist who had never lost a professional fight. Small, but incredibly fast. With techniques refined over decades of training, Marco Reyes would run in the Relay of Worlds, a team event requiring perfect coordination across multiple environments. And the entire leadership team would participate in the Unity Challenge, a test of cooperation and creativity. The stage was set. The evidence was secured. The conspiracy would be exposed. But first, humanity had to win. Danny stood at the window of his quarters that night, looking at the alien stars. He thought about everyone back home. His family in Houston. His old coaches. The millions of children who had stayed up late to watch the games. He wouldn't let them down. 3 more days, he whispered to himself. Just 3 more days. The final day of the Galactic Olympics began with nervous energy in the human compound. Athletes paced. Coaches reviewed strategies one last time. Everyone knew what was at stake. Humanity sat in 7th place. They needed strong performances in the remaining events to break into the top 5. The margin for error was 0. The combat exhibition was first. Rosa Vega walked into the fighting arena with calm confidence. She was 30 years old, a mixed martial artist with 17 professional victories and 0 defeats. Her body was small, but packed with lean muscle. Her eyes were focused and cold. The arena was a circular platform suspended above a pit of glowing energy. Fighters who fell off the edge were eliminated. Weapons were forbidden. Only skill and determination mattered. Rosa's first opponent was a Vrethani warrior. Tall and elegant, with reflexes boosted by the invisible enhancement field, the alien moved like water, striking with blinding speed. But Rosa had studied the Vrethani carefully. She noticed the tiny delay between the enhancement field's activation and the alien's physical response. There was a gap of perhaps a quarter second. Most fighters would never see it. Rosa saw it, She let the Vrethany attack first. Dodging by millimeters, reading the rhythm of the enhancement field. Then she countered with explosive precision, striking joints and pressure points that the alien didn't even know were vulnerable. The fight lasted 90 seconds. The Vrethany tapped the mat in surrender. Rosa's second opponent was a Korvath. Massive, powerful, built like a living mountain. The creature charged at her with devastating force, each blow strong enough to shatter stone. Rosa didn't try to block or match strength. Instead, she flowed around the attacks like smoke, using the Korvath's momentum against it. Every charge put the creature off balance. Every miss tired it further. In 3 minutes, the Korvath collapsed from exhaustion. It had never landed a single hit. The crowd was stunned. This tiny human was dismantling champions from species that had dominated combat events for centuries. Rosa's final opponent was a Syntax, a being of living metal that had won the combat exhibition in 6 consecutive games. Its body could reshape itself to counter any attack. Its surface was nearly impossible to damage. The fight was brutal. Rosa took hit after hit, her body bruising under the metal creature's assault. Blood trickled from cuts on her face and arms, but she kept moving, kept analyzing, kept waiting for her moment. It came in the final minute. The Syntax extended too far on an attack, leaving a gap in its midsection where the metal plates didn't quite connect. Rosa drove her fist into that gap with everything she had. The Syntax crumpled. Gold medal. Humanity's second. Rosa stood alone in the center of the arena, battered but victorious. The crowd's reaction was mixed. Some cheered. Others sat in shocked silence. A human had just defeated the greatest combat champion in galactic history. Danny was waiting when Rosa returned to the human section. He embraced her carefully, mindful of her injuries. "That was incredible," he said. Rosa smiled through split lips. "I was motivated." The Relay of Worlds was next. This team event required 5 athletes to complete a course spanning multiple environmental zones. Swimming, running, climbing, and zero-gravity movement were all involved. Humanity's team included Danny, Kelly, Carla, Chris, and Marco Reyes. A young distance runner with endless stamina, the race began in an underwater section. Kelly dove in and swam with powerful strokes, making up ground against species with gills and fins. She tagged Danny at the transition point. Only seconds behind the leaders, Danny sprinted through a rocky terrain, his legs burning with familiar fire. He passed 2 competitors and handed off to Carla, who launched herself into the zero-gravity tube with gymnastic precision. Carla moved through the weightless environment like she was born for it, spinning and bouncing with perfect efficiency. She caught up to the leading Vrethany team and passed them just before the transition. Chris took the climbing section. His battered body protested every movement, but he pushed through the pain. He had endured worse in the endurance trial. This was nothing. Marco ran the final leg. He was young but talented, with a stride that ate up ground like a machine. The finish line approached. Humanity was in second place, just behind a Mordith team. Marco pushed harder. His lungs screamed. His muscles burned. But he refused to slow down. He crossed the finish line half a second behind the Mordeth. Silver medal? It wasn't gold, but it was enough. Combined with their other performances, humanity had climbed to 5th place in the overall rankings. The Unity Challenge was the final event. 10 representatives from each species worked together to solve a series of escalating puzzles. The challenges required cooperation, creativity, and unconventional thinking. The human team faced puzzles, designed for minds that processed information in completely alien ways. Some challenges seemed impossible at first glance. But humans were good at impossible things. They talked. They debated. They tried approaches that no other species would consider. When logical solutions failed, they tried creative ones. When creative solutions failed, they tried desperate ones. The final challenge was a complex mechanism that required 10 different actions performed in perfect synchronization. Each action was different. Each required a unique skill, and they all had to happen at exactly the same moment. Danny coordinated from the center. On my mark. 3, 2, 1. Ten humans moved as one. The mechanism clicked. The challenge was complete. Bronze medal. Enough to secure 5th place overall, the medal ceremony was a moment that would be remembered for centuries. The human delegation stood on the platform alongside species that had competed for millennia. They had earned their place through pure determination and skill. But Danny wasn't finished. After the medals were distributed, he stepped forward and requested permission to address the assembly. The council granted it reluctantly, clearly expecting a gracious speech about sportsmanship. Instead, Danny held up the crystal Krex had given him. "This device contains evidence of a conspiracy against humanity," he announced. His voice was broadcast across the entire stadium and to every world watching. "For the duration of these games, multiple species have used illegal performance enhancement technology. The goal was not just to win medals, but to prevent humanity from earning council membership." The stadium erupted in chaos. Aliens shouted, council members scrambled. But Danny continued speaking. "We competed fairly. We won our medals through hard work and sacrifice. And now we present this evidence for the galaxy to judge." The transmission logs played across every screen. Recorded conversations filled the speakers. Equipment schematics scrolled past, showing exactly how the cheating had been accomplished. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Independent investigators verified the evidence. Witness species came forward to confirm what they had seen. The conspiracy could not be denied. In the weeks that followed, the Galactic Council was transformed. Several species faced sanctions. The Vrethany delegation was expelled. New oversight committees were established to ensure fair competition in future games. More importantly, humanity's reputation changed forever. They were no longer primitives to be dismissed. They were survivors, fighters, a species that rose to every challenge, no matter how impossible. On the transport ship home, Danny stood at the viewport with Kelly beside him. Earth was still days away, but he could already imagine the celebrations waiting for them. "Do you think they'll try to hold us back again?" Kelly asked. Dottie smiled. "Probably, but it doesn't matter anymore. They've seen what we can do. They know that whatever they throw at us, we'll adapt. We'll overcome. We'll win." Kelly nodded. "That's humanity for you." "That's humanity," Danny agreed. The ship accelerated toward home, carrying heroes who had proven that the human spirit could not be conquered. On Verith Prime, statues were already being commissioned. In council chambers, new policies were being drafted to welcome humanity properly. And on Earth, 8 billion people looked up at the stars with new hope. The galaxy was no longer something to fear. It was something to explore, something to join, something to eventually lead. The Galactic Olympics had tried to break humanity. Instead, they had revealed its greatest strength. We never give up. We never stop fighting. We always find a way. That was the message. BROADCAST across the universe. That was the lesson every species learned. That was the legacy of 100 athletes who refused to accept defeat. Humanity had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same.